Bring a candle, light the thing. Okay.
To be or not to be. So it smells. I've been smoking. No. You smell like violets and roses. It smells like cigarette smoke. It's probably just me.
5, 4, 3, 2. Interesting, as I count down, everything froze. Go. Once again.
Are we on?
Once again.
Where's the countdown?
I pressed it.
It just went 3 and then nothing.
Really?
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. You should click it twice or something.
100% sure.
Try to press again. Hello, everybody. If anybody is there at this time of day or morning or night, I'm not even sure what it is.
It's called morning.
It's called morning.
It's called morning.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
It's nice that it's the sky is the color of robins.
Robin's what?
The birds. Robins what?
The
birds.
Batman and Robin.
The bird robin. You know, kind of reddish. Kind of red, pink, kind of.
Robins are not
colour.
pink.
Yes, they are. They've got pink bellies.
They've got red bellies. That's why they're called red robins. No?
It's kind of red pink. Like the
red,
sky.
Red pink.
It's the robin color. You ladies out there know what I'm talking about. You know what robin color is,
the sky has
right?
been robbed of its color. Right. There is a smell. What's the smell?
Well, I thought
Did you have a shower?
Excuse me, I never have a shower. What are you talking about?
Well, it's you then, if you never have a shower.
Shut up.
What?
I thought that I smelled something like cigarette smoke.
It's you. If you didn't have a shower, it's you. You smell. Everyone needs to have a shower in the morning, otherwise they just smell of bed.
I don't smell of bed.
How do you
Excuse
know?
me.
How do you know? How do you know what you smell of?
I know exactly
Everyone
what
is so
smell.
comfortable with their own smell that they can't even smell themselves.
Oh, that's
right?
not true.
In general, it's
I
true.
can smell when I smell, and I can smell when I don't smell.
How can you smell when you don't smell if there's nothing to smell?
Well, because I can smell that there is nothing to smell. If there is something to smell, I can definitely smell it.
Okay, what can you smell right now?
Right now? Right now I can smell that incense there that I'm burning. Or whatever it is. The oil, the essential oil.
That's good, no?
Yes, it is.
But you were imagining that you could smell cigarette smoke.
Yes, I was.
What's that about?
I don't know. A nasal hallucination, I suppose.
A nasal hallucination. A nasination.
Yes.
You're having a nasination.
Yes, I did have one.
Yes.
Yes. They say you do that when you've got a brain tumor. So I hope I don't have one of those. I think I've just
that would
it's just lack of
explain a
sleep.
lot. Lack of sleep.
Yay.
How much sleep did you get last night?
I don't know. A lack.
A lack.
That's the opposite of a lot.
It's not good to have a lack.
I know it's not good to have a lack, but on the other hand,
Dun, dun, dun.
you get to experience interesting things like nasal nations.
Nasinations.
Oh, sorry.
Not nasal nations. That would be
Like France, right?
Yeah, exactly. The country where everybody speaks to their news.
Mm-hmm.
Où est le gardien?
Oh god, I shouldn't have started you speaking French again. It's always slightly
Dans
disturbing.
le jardin et le voiture.
We don't have a jardin and we don't have a voiture either.
We don't have a voiture.
No.
There's no voiture.
No voiture and no jardin. You can see the balcony.
The world is the jardin. The bus is the voiture.
The world is your oyster.
Oyster. Oysters.
It's
What are you talking about?
food.
You've been watching too much Octonauts.
Probably. Yesterday, definitely, yes. Because you put Octonauts on as our as our evening movie kind of thing. You do that. My microphone is so close to my mouth that I keep hitting it with my lips.
Don't. Well, no, that's it.
Yeah.
It's sort of okay. I mean, my beard brushes against my microphone.
Yeah?
And it's okay.
And you can't hear that.
No, you can't hear that.
That's good.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. So don't worry about your lips brushing against, because it's not the microphone. It's the the fuzzy cover.
I have
The
realized
pop filter, as it's
that
called. Have
you couldn't hear the kettle yesterday at all
Did you listen
in the
for
video.
it?
I did.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You listened for it?
Yes. And there was like not a trace of a sound. We
No-
just
no
looked
tr-
like
no trace of kettle.
we just looked like two lunatics talking about nothing.
Well, that's normal. That's normal.
That is normal for us.
It's normal. It's the insane sound. It's really hot this morning.
Is it?
Again.
You think it's hot? I think it's just about average.
I checked my phone last night and it
Yeah.
said that it was going to be 3 degrees hotter today than yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. Now, my phone
Wow.
could be lying because it often tells me things that are not true. But
And it was really warm yesterday. We were running around in short sleeves.
it was really warm yesterday.
Yeah, that's good. That's the
Even-
second
even though
Indian
people
summer.
were wearing jackets outside, which I didn't really understand.
I didn't get that at all either.
I think people just go, "Oh, October,
Autumn
jacket."
Yeah, they do that. They do that with little kids as well. Oh my God! In Slovakia, people out there
There.
in Slovakia, the kids are
In the
getting
world.
overdressed all the time, like babies, right? You've got like July, 35 degrees outside, and you're gonna find these babies all wrapped up in their little cocoons because they're babies, and babies have to be wrapped up, and that's it. Period. Right?
Well, it's not thinking, isn't it? There's
I
a lot of
mean-
not thinking that's happening everywhere.
Or like you've got April, right? April is the funky month here in Slovakia because it can be really warm and it can be really cold, right? You can have snow in April and then you can have like 25 degrees in April. And I've had this before. You know, when we lived in Bystrica, which is exactly where we live right now. We've lived
What are you
elsewhere in
talking
between.
about?
I used to take Will out when he was tiny little to these playgrounds and everywhere, right?
Mhm.
And you know, we would go outside in our sandals and our shorts
Mhm.
because yes, it was April, but it was freaking hot out there, and we were,
Okay.
you know, sweating. And you would have these mums just looking at us like we were mad, and their kids were like, you know, jackets and long trousers, and one of them was asking, "Oh, do you still put tights on your baby underneath those trousers?" And the other one was like, "Yes, of course, it's only April." And I'm like, oh my God, poor kids, they must have been sweating their little cute bums off.
Yeah, the amount of non-thinking that goes on has reached biblical proportions.
Yeah, I know. In Slovakia also, your baby has to wear a hat all the time. You go to Scotland, right, and you look at the kids, and they're running around, short sleeves, it's like 5 degrees out there, right, and they'll be running around like barefoot and snot hanging down to their chins and no hat and no scarf, and it's just, you know, tough kids. They're just tough kids. You come to Slovakia, you get out of your house in the winter, and everybody's like, "Oh, your baby needs a hat or they'll be cold." You get out in the spring or in the autumn and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so windy, your baby needs a hat." You get out in the summer and everybody's, "What? No hat? Oh my God, your child will get a sunstroke." Your child has to wear a hat all the time in Slovakia. Otherwise, all the grannies that can see you are going to just, you know, probably have a heart attack and die because your child's not wearing a hat.
Yeah, well, fuck them.
I know.
Because
I
they're
know.
wrong, basically.
My kids
Someone needs
never
to
wear
tell
a
them that they're
hat.
wrong.
My kids never wear a hat unless they ask for it, right? I mean, Zora's cold. She tells me she's cold. I offer, "Would you like to wear a hat?" And she says either yes or no. If she doesn't, well, there you go. Your ears are going to be cold or they're not. I don't know. I don't know if they're cold or not. It's called bodily autonomy. You have to let the child experience the feeling before they know that they're actually, you know, so that, because if you don't let them ever get cold, they're not going to know that they're going to be cold if they don't put their hat on, right? It's just going to be a constant power struggle. Put your head on, no. Put your head on, no.
It's a good point. To let the child experience the feeling.
Yeah, and you know how what we talked about yesterday about that school with those 2 classrooms, right? The one that was used to have freedom and knew how to handle it, and the other group that never had freedom before, and suddenly they just didn't know what to do with it, right? Basically. Well, I was thinking about that a lot, and it kind of applies to.
You all right there?
Yeah, I need to play with my feet. It kind of applies to everything, to individual kids as well, right? So if you never give your child a freedom in a certain area, and then suddenly give it to them, they will automatically binge on it, right? They will automatically have the opposite reaction, and then you can come to a conclusion that, oh my kids cannot self-regulate. It's all a myth. It's not possible, and I'm just gonna have to go back to the control. But that's just them reacting to the sudden freedom. It's the natural reaction of they don't know how to use it yet. They have to learn how to use it. They have to learn how to self-regulate, right?
Yeah, the self-regulation, the self-governance is lost very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was visible in Will not being able to put himself to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, it's the same thing. Like you take your kids outside and you always force a hat on their head, and then suddenly you go outside and you say, okay, well, dress yourself, do what you want. Kids are gonna go like, oh my gosh, I can go outside without my hat. I better use it while I can, right? And they're gonna go outside without their hat, even if their ears are freezing off, right? And then they're going to complain that their ears are freezing off, and mother's gonna be like, this obviously doesn't work. I still have to take care of them. I still have to control what they're wearing. But that's not, I have a friend, right? There was this big presentation of Naomi Aldort in Bratislava.
Who is that?
She's a big parenting person. She's a big peaceful parenting person.
I've seen her on Facebook, and that she does some live videos.
She's a big child autonomy, unschooling, respect and that kind of thing person. And our friend Lucia, who sometimes watches this podcast, she's really cool. She always, questions things, asks questions and stuff. So when Naomi Aldert was talking about bedtime, she said that you don't actually have to.
What's going to happen?
You're going to blow your nose. So when she was saying that you don't actually have to put your kids.
I wanted to get my mic off, and I told them before
It's too late. Okay, I'll wait.
The sneeze appears.
I will wait for you before I continue my ramble. I'll have a drink of my drink. Imagine this was your drink.
Let me get my mic back on. Right. Can I have the incense stuff? I'm gonna stick it up my nose again.
So Lucia was, she would raise her hand and she would question it. She would say, she would start talking to.
If you're on the, if you're watching the video podcast, this is what we are using. There we go.
Albus oil, it's called.
Albus.
It's like a mixture of different essential oils.
Yeah.
So she would raise her hand and she would talk to Naomi Aldert, and then she called her up on the stage and they discussed the topic and everything. And I don't know exactly what they discussed.
What's her second name?
Gomez.
Oh, that's her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's her. And
quite a big girl, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
She is big. She talks to the president because she didn't like the law that was proposed by the government.
Why can't she get homeschooling made legal then?
How can't she get? I don't know. I don't know. She was fighting a different fight. She was all busy fighting a different fight because she has a private kindergarten, and she is homeschooling her kids, by the way, and she needed to fight a really damaging law for all the private kindergartens and nurseries and stuff.
What was the law?
I don't know, honestly. I never explored further, but it was
Everybody
something
has to
about.
wear I love the government T-shirt or
No,
something.
it was something about something that was supposed to really disadvantage women that wanted to put their kids to nursery or kindergarten that were younger than 3 years of age or something.
Sponsorship when you attend private kindergarten.
Something like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Okay, I didn't look deeper into it, but I know that she was really fighting the good fight out there. And that's gonna be my mum. No.
Moving like a ghost.
No, I didn't see her at all.
That's what I said. Moving like a ghost.
Yeah, but is it her or is it the kids?
It's the ghost of your mother. 'Cause she's dead because I killed her last night.
Shut up.
Put a stake through her heart.
That's just...
What?
That's just... What a stupid thing to say.
What?
Anyway.
Why?
Because this is ridiculous. It's violent. Horrible imagery.
Oh, peaceful parenting. Who was the person who was going to... oh, never mind. We'll get onto the aggression thing later.
Anyhow. So, also, I didn't tell her not to put the kettle on in the morning because it hasn't been picked up by the microphone.
I don't believe that hasn't been picked up. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that part again.
Okay, it hasn't been picked up at all.
Because you can't hear stuff. You don't know, right?
Listen, you can't even barely hear you when you were talking and your microphone was down here. How can this be the sound from over there in the kitchen picked up?
Look, if you can hear it, then the mic can pick it up. That's the principle.
It did not pick it up, okay? So you can go back and listen to it, but it did not.
It's going to really annoy me, though. You know that.
I know that.
And I didn't bring up this topic. You brought up this topic.
I know that it's going to annoy you, and you're going to have to deal with that.
You're annoying me with this now. Because I wasn't thinking about it at all. Now you've brought the topic up.
Yes, because I was getting you ready for the fact that it is going to happen at some point.
It's really annoying.
So she talked to her, and and she questioned this, and she wrote down her question on Facebook as well. She was like, "Well, if I gave my kids the freedom not to go to bed, they just wouldn't go to bed, right? And they'd be so overtired. They would get themselves so overtired that then they would have a difficulty to fall asleep later on, and they would just, go on as long as they can." And there were many parents. No, I don't know if there were many, but there were parents commenting on the string, and they were like, "Yes, same experience here. My kids would get really tired, and then they would never go to bed by themselves."
I don't understand that.
But the point is,
I don't understand how you can be overtired and not go to bed.
Well, that's what I was talking about. The point is that if you give the kids a freedom, because you think to yourself, "Oh, I'm going to do an experiment, right? I'm going to let my kids. I'm not going to put my kids to bed and see what happens." And the point is that if you do that, like once, twice, or even for 1 week, the kids are just going to binge on their freedom, right? And just going to go like, "Yes, we don't have to go to bed, so we're going to do the opposite." And they're just going to stay up as long as they can because they're not used to having the freedom. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to listen to their own body. They don't know what it feels like to be so tired that you go to bed by yourself, right? So it's a bit tricky. Either you trust your child completely and you let them go through the whole process of finding their own bodily autonomy, or you don't. And you guide them towards
what's better?
Earlier bedtime. I don't dare say what's better, actually. I don't dare say what's better because I think it depends on...
Welcome to the conversation, Mr. Gabber.
I think it's individual for every family because every family has different habits, different... what do you call it? biorhythm, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They get up at a different times. It's okay for us because we're not in a rush in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to get up at 6 and you need your kids to get up at 6 and you need your kids to be, you know, fresh and ready for bed, you can't really, not sorry, fresh and ready for the day, not the bed. Sorry. You can't really experiment, you know, you don't have the freedom. You don't have the freedom to let them just go through the process for 3 months of finding their autonomy. Also kids.
Just let them be.
Generally, some kids and most of teenagers as well are generally kind of night creatures, aren't they? They would stay up late and they would get up late in the morning.
I don't know about that. I think it's completely varied.
Could be. My brother, for example, was
stay
always
up late. I mean, what is it? The question is, what is there to do? What do you enjoy doing? What do you like doing?
Mm-hmm.
And if I think back to when I was a kid, where there really wasn't much in terms of
doing
entertainment that existed. You stayed up late if there was something on TV, if there was a film on, or if there was something on the radio. So there was a lot of the external stimuli there.
But no, you can find things to do. I mean, look at Zora, right?
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that you either find your own things to do,
mm-hmm.
or you're affected by the world around about you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will stay up late if there's something happening which is late, but they won't do it all the time.
No, probably not. My brother, for example, was a guy who would go to
even people who go to parties need to sleep.
Yeah, I know. He yes, but you sleep in the morning if you can, you know. I mean, I was the kind of kid
who would don't get it.
Stay up until midnight.
You don't get sleep then.
And then I would sleep till like 10 o'clock. If I had the freedom to do that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
My brother
that freedom disappears very quickly, though.
Yeah, naturally, my brother would go to bed early, and she would be annoyed if I made noise, right? Because we had a room, we had one room, one kid's room, and that was it. So he'd be really annoyed if I disturbed him in the evening, and then he would get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, even at the weekend, and then I would be annoyed because he woke me up and he disturbed me.
Why did he get up at 7?
That was just his biological clock. That was just his
There was
thing.
no reason.
No.
It's very weird to get up at that time when there's no reason.
He was just an early riser. You know, naturally.
But he played computer games, right? So I imagine that he'd stay up late. It's coming again.
What? Oh, a sneeze. Oh dear. Yeah, you sneezed. Oh.
Stop it. Keep talking.
You're not supposed to stop a sneeze. You're supposed to sneeze a sneeze. Sneezes are there to be sneezed.
I sneezed a sneeze.
Good. It's good for you.
I dreamed a dream.
Oh
my god.
Shouldn't you be dreamt? Shouldn't you be saying dreamt to dream?
Look at this.
Oh god. Shards of tissues. Yeah, you always shard them.
Look, that's within like 10 minutes.
Stop showing everybody your snotty tissues and go get a clean one. Yes, you can.
This is ridiculous.
So yeah, I understand why it is difficult to give children autonomy, and I don't think that children should have autonomy in everything, right? I mean, the radical unschoolers say that, you know, child can self-regulate when it comes to technology time, when it comes to everything, basically. But I'm a bit skeptical about that, because some things are a trap, right? Television is a trap. Television is made to get your attention. It's made to get your, you know, passive vegetable brain to chill out and
I'm back. Did you miss
just
me?
not do anything. It's a trap with the advertisement and everything. It's just, it's designed. It's designed by psychologists
what was great?
Make you stick to it. I'm talking. You don't care that I'm talking.
No.
Just go
Not
in and
interested.
just start, your own thing in the middle of my sentence.
I wanted to add to what you were saying, but I'll shut up now.
So I think
I liked that part from the remix yesterday.
Yeah. Now I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say that I think that you have to regulate some things because some things are made, to...
Be regulated?
No, to...
Something.
Manipulate.
Oops.
I think, television is made to manipulate you into watching a lot. And I think some of these things have to be controlled. Natural processes, natural things like sleep and food and playing outside or whatever. I don't think that has to be controlled. I think kids can do pretty well themselves, knowing when they're cold and knowing when they need to go to the toilet. Well, sometimes, and knowing. Even that, you know what?
I think adults can't do that.
I had a friend, and she did like a self-led de-nappying, right? She let her child to just completely hands off. Right? I'm not going to potty train my child at all. And her daughter potty trained herself, right?
Yeah.
She said around the age of 2.5, I can't remember completely. And she told me this child that potty trained herself did not do the usual thing that kids do, that when you hold on to it for so long as long as you can, and when you kind of they shuffle and you can see that they really need to pee but they just don't want to do that yet.
What is that about? Why do they do that? Why does Will do that?
Well, you see, she said that the child that she's left completely to do it herself in her own time has never done that. But her older child, that she potty trained as you do, she started introducing it, and she would put the child on the potty every 20 minutes to pee, blah, 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 blah. He did it.
So once again, the influence of the parents.
Once again, the self-regulation issue, right? The child that was left complete freedom to do what she wants with her bladder could self-regulate better than the child that was told when he needs to go. So it's like they're still waiting for you to tell them when they need to go. Will is still doing that, right? You need to tell Will, you need to pee, and he goes like, "Oh, you're right." It's like he doesn't notice.
Well, why can't we tell him to be more aware? Or is it that
you can, but that's not going to change anything. It's not going to make him more aware.
Telling him is not going to teach him.
No. I mean, it's like it's like me telling you to be more taller.
Well, then that's a bit messed up, isn't it? Because once you have a problem like that,
it's not. Well, the thing is that's not really a problem. You just leave it. I think you just leave it, and he's going to learn eventually. I mean, we don't do it anymore, right? That must mean that we've learned at some point in time.
No, in general I agree with you. I can think of a few meetings that I've had to hold on to.
But that was probably because of lack of time, not because you needed to pee and you didn't know that you needed to pee, so you went to the meeting needing to pee, right?
Yeah, there's days where you have like 8 hours of constant meetings.
Yeah, and you have no time to go to the toilet. I know that. I worked in a restaurant as a waitress, and I literally had no time to go to the loo for hours and hours. I just couldn't. So there's 2 of us at this massive restaurant.
Craziness.
Yeah.
Much craziness.
Totally. But then I didn't have any time to drink either, so that was okay.
How was your walk yesterday? On the hill.
It was nice.
With the kids.
It was sunny. It was beautiful. The kids were a bit moany. Zora was a bit moany, but
She said she
got
didn't
better.
enjoy the walk.
Yeah.
I asked her.
Yeah,
Why
she's
didn't she
like,
enjoy it?
"Me, I don't know. I don't know. She just wasn't feeling it, I imagine. Which is strange because she was really looking forward to it, you know? She was like, yeah, let's have a picnic, everything, da 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 da. We went there and we did have a picnic and we ate the apples and she enjoyed her apple and but she was like, oh, my leg hurts and she's like, I'm tired. I think she was a bit, you know, she had a lack of energy. Might be the lack of sleep the previous night. That's the thing, you know, you can't just, it's really difficult to introduce self-regulations when you've already messed up because self-regulation. She was really good at self-regulating her sleep, but sometimes she, recently, she started to push it. I think she's just experimenting though. I think if we leave it, she'll just go back to her old, I'm tired, I'm going to bed thing. I don't know if you've noticed that recently she started to...
She hasn't been putting herself to bed.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of crazy because she follows what Will does, and then Jazzy follows what Zora does.
Yeah, I know.
And they were all dancing around the flat last night, like
mad chickens.
Yeah. That's a pretty accurate picture, actually. Because Will can't dance and doesn't care. Zora can't dance but thinks she can, and then
Jasmine just stomps around.
yeah, she's got those heavy feet. Basically.
Oh God, yeah.
You wanted to talk about aggression.
I did want to talk about it because I see a lot of people asking questions about it. You know, it's kind of recurring theme where it's a, because you see when your child is aggressive, it's a bit of a problematic issue because it influences other people, right? I mean, if your child is being disrespectful towards you only, you know, then it's a bit easier to handle because you don't have the social pressure, right? I mean, if the child comes home from school and in school they tell you that child's an angel and a great role model, and then they come to home and they just snap and they're horrible, it's still kind of.
It's because they were keeping everything inside at school.
Yeah, exactly. It's still not as stressful as having an aggressive child, because the aggressive child influences everybody around you, and the social pressure is massive because you're instantly being judged, right? As a bike, you're instantly, or you fear. You fear that you're instantly being judged as a bad parent, you know, and you think, oh my God, these people are going to think that we have violence at home and that we beat each other or whatever, because where does the kid learn it, right? Or you're going to think, oh my gosh, what are they going to think about my child? And then you think, oh my gosh, what's going to grow up out of my child? I mean, what if he's going to be a criminal, you know? Why is he laughing when he hits the other kid? You know,
who thinks that?
The parent. They'll be like,
what?
Is my child enjoying the violence? You know, stuff like that.
The parents actually think like
everything. I think that, okay, these are all thoughts that cross your mind.
Don't cross my mind.
These are all thoughts that, you know, when your child repeatedly goes out there and hits other kids or bullies them or does things like that, like. First thought is, where does he get it from?
No. The parent being all confused about their own child being a bully is an absolute disconnect from reality.
What do you mean is a disconnect from reality?
You can only learn bullying, essentially, from your own parents.
Well, no.
Or if you don't have parents, caregivers, or the environment that you're within.
Well, we're not really talking about bullying.
Or you can learn.
We're talking about aggressive behavior.
Or you can not learn how to deal with it as well, which is also the same thing.
You see, this is where me and you have different opinions.
You and I.
Okay. Because you think that kids pick up everything from somewhere, right?
Of course they do.
And I know for a fact that they don't.
If they don't pick it up from somewhere, do they pick it up from nowhere? Where do they pick it up from?
Some things are natural. Some things are a natural behavior that you don't have to pick up from anywhere, like eating, for example, right? Or sneezing or whatever. Aggressive reaction to certain situations.
I have to disagree with that statement.
I know you disagree. That's what I just said.
I have to disagree with that statement because eating is a choice. And all choices depend on your psychological state.
It's not a choice when you're a child. It's not a choice when you're a child.
No, I disagree again. It is.
You don't have
a choice.
You don't have a
choice whether or not you
2-year-old.
pick. It's a choice whether or not you choose to eat something or not. It's a choice whether or not you choose to eat something good or eat something bad. All of those things are choices. All of those things are decisions that have to be made that are affected by experience. Now, if you see somebody else eating a lot, you will eat a lot. If you see somebody else watching football matches, you will watch football matches. If you see somebody else studying and working with plants, then you'll study and work with plants.
I'm primarily talking about toddlers and preschool children. Okay?
So am I.
And
haven't I just proved you
if
wrong?
a 2-year-old is hungry, he's going to eat.
Look, it's not an argument. Anyone who's hungry is going to eat.
That is what I'm talking about. It's a natural thing. It's a natural need. It's a natural behavior.
No, okay. But the quantity or the rate will be governed by the environment. What you eat and how much you eat will be governed by your environment.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But what I'm trying to say is, when kids are aggressive at that age, it does not necessarily mean that they picked it up from their parents. They can have super peaceful parents, okay, and they can still be aggressive in certain situations. Yes, this aggression is triggered by their environment that they are in, okay, or by their emotional state, but it's a natural
I have to disagree again.
Reaction to certain things. It's like the fight or flight mechanism, right? Did you forget about that completely? I mean,
no, but
it's a natural reaction to a situation of anxiety.
Look, you could. Look, I have to go back, otherwise I'll miss the point, right? Which is that a lot of people think that peaceful parenting could be something similar to what the parents of the 60s did with a lot of their kids, giving them huge amounts of freedoms.
I don't know what parents of the 60s did with their kids.
I just told you.
You give them huge amount of freedoms.
Yes, I just told you what they did. They give the kids a huge amount of freedom. They let the child be highly autonomous, and they think this is peaceful parenting because they're not introducing their children to discipline or I don't want to say punishment, but let's say consequences. And socially what happened was the children of the 60s became the punks of the 70s because they thought they could do what they wanted and it was okay. And this concept of peaceful parenting was actually a negative form of peaceful parenting because it was neglectful.
Where are you going with this?
The fact that peaceful parenting, if done wrong, can lead to aggressive behaviors, and that's a result of the parenting, not a result of the child's own so-called natural aggressive
But you
behavior.
are talking about behavior that develops throughout the time. You're talking about learned behavior. You're not talking about natural reactions of the organism. You're not talking about biological reactions, okay? I'm telling you that the anger in a 2-year-old is the biological reaction.
I think that if you say biological, I would say yes. If you define that as chemical and hormonal, then you get closer to the truth, and those things can be governed very much environmentally by contact that you have with your parent and the development of the senses. So that's environmental. That's not just the way it is. It's not.
Okay, I would like to make it clear, okay, that the reaction itself is natural, but the extent to which you're going to have it, okay, the child is going to express it, does depend on the behavior, because on the environment, because there are environmental triggers of the behavior, and you can prevent it by knowing what triggers it, okay? But saying that
Well, you can't because most people
you can to
are
a certain
not aware
extent.
of those things.
You can to a certain
They're not
extent.
aware of what triggers.
Well, that's why we're here and talking about it, right?
Yes.
There we go. So, to make people aware of those things. So, what I'm trying to say is, I forgot again. Good.
I didn't interrupt you there. You just forgot yourself. Can I help
No,
you?
no, because it's
Okay,
not
then I
gonna
won't.
help. Thank you very much. Yes,
Yes. Not going to say anything except yes.
you
Positive
can
reaffirmations.
influence it, okay? Just because your child hits another child, you cannot assume that he picked it up at home. You cannot assume that he's seen his parents doing it and that's why he does it. That's my whole point. Okay?
I think completely you cannot assume. I agree, but you can make a reasonable assumption, which is not
Okay.
evidence-based.
Do you
but
think that
can look in
Jasmine ever
direction.
saw me scratching anybody in the face? Or you? Or her brother or sister? No.
But that doesn't mean that she can't have, say, witnessed it in some film or some cartoon or something that she watched that we didn't see.
That we didn't see. That she watched that we didn't see.
Yeah,
There is nothing that she watched that I didn't see.
Have you seen all the Octonauts episodes?
Yes,
That's terrible.
I know.
But
That's my life.
what's your favorite one? What's your favorite Octonauts? If you've seen them all,
I've got my unfavorite ones, okay?
No, what's your favorite? I don't want to know about your unfavorite.
I don't have a favorite one because I don't particularly enjoy watching Octonauts, okay? I don't have a favorite Octonaut series.
What's
no.
wrong with it?
It's
It's Captain Barnacle's Get on Your Tickles.
so so yes, so you cannot really, when your child is aggressive towards other
I
children,
like the one with a giant squid.
the first thing that you do is you have to calm down and you have to realize that this does not mean that you're a bad parent, okay? Because the aggression is a natural reaction to certain situations, right? Kids can be aggressive when they feel anxious about something, which we talked about. That's part of the fight or flight reaction to threat, okay? Kids can get aggressive when they're in an environment which is overstimulating for them. For example, too much happening, like a birthday party or something. They can feel the need for a quiet and peaceful place, but they don't get it, so they become aggressive because they can't handle the emotion of being
How do you
overwhelmed.
separate being being physical from being violent? Because you have to separate the two, right? Because the kids are physical
Yes.
a lot of the time, right?
Yes.
So where's the border? Where's the line, right? Let's take an example of the kids being physical, like Zora jumps on Will, and then Jazzy jumps on Zora. where's the line?
Well, if Will says, please stop it and get off me, I can't breathe, and the kids do, then that's okay. That's just them being physical, okay? If they don't, but she starts hitting him in the face, then obviously she's being violent. Okay? I think violence is where you infringe on somebody else's rights physically. When we talk about physical violence, of course, because you can have other types of violences.
Can you?
You can have verbal violence, can't you?
He was verbally violent. Violence.
Okay, maybe not violence.
I think
that's
violence.
abuse.
The term of violence is physical.
Okay, so
Be a good name for a punk band, though.
verbal violence.
Verbal violence.
You could probably. Nice alliteration there. Anyway, so I think that first thing that a parent should do is just calm down and shut down all the thoughts of, oh my God, everybody's going to think that I'm a horrible parent, right? And the second thing that you should do is just evaluate the situation, right? The second thing that you should do is take a kid away from the situation, right? Because you don't want it to escalate. So what you do is you take your child gently, you don't yell at them or whatever, you remove the child. And you have to remember that when kids, toddlers, preschoolers, but even older kids, I think, when kids are being aggressive, they're not being bad, okay? They're trying to deal with something and they don't have the tools to deal with it. So they
a lot of parents don't have the tools to deal with it either.
It's like their last resolve. Is that what you call it? Resort. They resort themselves to violence because they don't know what to do. So they're basically having a tough time, right? For some reason, when they're being aggressive. This does not mean that you can tolerate aggressive behavior or that you don't tell them that is wrong, but to yell at them or punish them in the situation when they are exhibiting the aggressive behavior is completely counterproductive because it's just going to make them more miserable, right? So what you do is you have to remove them from the situation calmly, gently, nicely. In the meantime, you're evaluating what's happening, why is it happening? It's usually because, you ask yourself, did they have enough sleep? Did they have enough food? Are they maybe hungry? Are they maybe overwhelmed by everything that's happening? Are they overstimulated? Are they understimulated? Are they anxious about something? Are they scared of something? There might be things that are happening in your life that build up their stress and their anxiety that are not directly connected to the situation, right? You can just go to the play park where they really wanted to go, and they meet a child, and they exhibit aggressive behavior.
But there's no
for no apparent reason.
There's no behavior without cause.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For no apparent reason, but there might be an underlying theme going on. For example, you having a baby, right, and not giving the child as much attention, the older child as much attention as he was used to, and he may be feeling stressed about it. He may be feeling threatened by the new baby. He may be feeling, I don't know if mommy still loves me, kind of theme going on, and it can build up. And then just come out in an unexpected situation as an aggression, because the aggression is the result of the fear, the stress that's building up in the child, the insecurity. Okay, or sometimes, okay, not always. Sometimes kids can experiment, but you usually know that because if they're just experimenting, see what happens when I hit this person. Nothing. It's a one-time thing, it's not going to be a recurrent behavior. Usually, if you talk to them about it, they might try it another 3 times, but it's not something that would usually bother you because it doesn't happen again and again. But if the problem is happening again and again, there's usually something underneath that going on, either psychological or physical, as I said before. Sometimes kids can be aggressive just because they lack the tools to approach other kids, right? If they're not, especially if they're non-verbal. Yes.
Okay.
You know, they want to play with someone, and they don't know how to initiate the conversation. You know, the interaction is a better word. So they'll go and hit the kid because it gets them a reaction. They don't know how better to do that.
Gets them attention is what it gets them.
Yeah. Yes, and there was something else. Oh yes, and also you can notice that aggression in children, unless there is like a major psychological factor, right? Mm-hmm. Aggression in like toddlers is, in my opinion, interconnected with lack of verbal expression. You know, they have very limited verbal skills, and the less verbal they are, the more likely they are to express their frustration with not being able to express whatever they want by being aggressive, right? So if you've got a kid that can't talk until like the age of 3, he's likely to get frustrated with the fact that you don't understand them and be violent. So there are different situations, and it's always you always have to evaluate what's happening. Try to see if there are any common factors that you can see every time that the kid is being violent. If there's something, he's always violent when there's a lot of kids around, then you can assume that it's because he's overstimulated, right? Or he feels threatened by too many children around him. And you can prevent, to a certain extent, if you know what's causing it, you can prevent the behavior. So after you take him, what happens in the situation? After you take him out of the situation of the aggression, you want to calm them down, right? You don't want to yell at them. You don't want to spank them. You don't want to tell them off, because there's usually no point. What I would do is use positive talk and tell them things that you want them to learn, like they say you tell them hands are not for hitting.
Positive talk.
That's what I'm just going to explain.
Okay.
Sometimes some people say, you tell them hands are not for hitting, but we know that toddlers have problems with knots, right? They just hear knots, not the word not.
Oh, okay. Negative language.
Yeah. So sometimes they just hear hitting, right? Mm-hmm. You tell them hands are not for hitting, and they hear hitting. So you want to tell them, hands are for cuddling, or you want to tell them, show them.
That's focus. That's making positive statements to change the focus of the child.
Yeah.
Rather than negative statements that actually focus on what you don't want them to do.
Yeah, exactly. You tell them, this is what we do, we're nice. You can just very shortly say, I don't know. We say please if we want a toy or whatever.
This is how we do it.
You calm them down. The best way to calm them down is just to stay with them. Be kind, be gentle, take them away from the situation, give them a cuddle, stay with them, let them get it out if they need to cry or if they need to, whatever.
Put away your phone.
My phone?
No.
It's not here.
Parents, I'm talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
When are you talking about phones when I'm talking about aggressive behavior?
Because the parents need to focus on what their children are doing.
Yes, absolutely.
And to do that, they have to put away the phone.
Yeah.
Fuck the phone. Because so many parents who should be focusing on the needs of their kids are staring at the little screen that they carry around with them. So, turn it off. It's not going to kill you. Turn it off. And focus on your child and your child's needs. Unless you are surfing the internet for solutions to behavioral problems with your child, or you're watching this podcast.
Anyhow, when the child calms down, right, what you can do is, it's always a good idea, if if they can handle it, okay, if they can handle going back into the group of children or going back into the interaction, you can, tell them it's a nice thing to say sorry. You can model it, right? You can go to the other child that's been hit and you can go, I'm sorry. You can show them how you say I'm sorry, or you can, you don't say go there and say sorry, and the kid just starts crying again or whatever. You just gently model apologizing, being respectful, and they're going to catch up. You don't have to catch up. They're going to get it eventually. You don't have to force them to apologize.
Well, it's also not something you have to teach directly, because if you put the child into the right environment, they're going to learn that automatically. Now, the right environment, for example, could be sport, where a child learns to deal with their emotions through sport. For example, if you say to a child, or try to explain to a child even to, let it go, it's probably not going to get through. But if you put the child into a framework or setting in sport where, let's say the classic example in football where you lose a goal, you have to let it go. You have to let go of your frustrations and refocus on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But this again works with older kids. I mean,
doing the next thing
when you start football, you
get back into the game.
Yeah, you start around 5 years old, right? Maybe if the kids start practicing football around the age of 5.
Some of them at 2.
Yeah. It's
changed.
Has it?
They're doing it earlier.
Okay. Anyway,
Tiger Woods, wasn't he on television at the age of 3 or something playing golf?
I don't know.
So yeah, it's much earlier now.
Okay, I've only I'm limited. I've only ever seen football groups that do it from the age of 5.
Oh yeah, did you get team? Usually, the team sports begin at that point, but the parents have started them much younger.
Okay.
They're working on those skills from some of them from before the children can walk. I mean, I think that's a bit extreme, but it does produce results, and it does help develop the child's skills.
Okay.
It brings them on a little bit faster in certain areas.
Cool.
There you go. So, sport is learning to control anger, fear, and pain all at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, but the tools really have to come from the parent always, or the carer of the child, right? I don't know, if you probably don't just leave the kid in a football club at the age of 2, right? So you probably,
I just said that.
Yeah, you do it with them.
5,
yeah, you do it with them as a parent. So the tools to manage that anger, you can't just expect them to be able to manage it just because they're playing football. You always have to teach them the tools to manage it first, right?
Or you learn that you can't play the sport properly if your focus is not on the right area. That's what I was telling my teenage clients last week. I mean, I'm going to sneeze again.
Do it. Anyway, yeah, but...
oh my gosh. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but we're talking about toddlers, right? You can tell toddlers that they focus has to be in the right area, but they're not going to understand you very much because it's very abstract. They need concrete things. They need particular examples, right? So
I was going to talk about something.
about your teenage students.
I might sneeze again. I don't know.
Do it.
It's a morning
Let
thing.
your hair hang down. Sneeze.
Sneeze. My teenage students. I can see the ones that are aggressive, right? And the ones that are aggressive tend to focus on negative issues rather than positive issues.
Okay.
So, here's again a very simple, stupid example. There's 5 minutes left in the football match and you lose a goal right? So you can focus on the fact you lost the goal with 5 minutes to go, or you can focus on the fact that there's 5 minutes more. And that focus changes entirely your mindset and your reaction to the situation. And those young people that I've noticed with aggressive behavior tend to hold on to the negative element for too long. They tend not to be able to let it go and move on, because you have to let go of the fact that you've lost the goal and move on to the fact that you have to
we all know
make up for that error.
We all know that our emotions come from inside of us, right? So it's largely about the attitude that you have towards the reality that creates your own frustration. The reality is not creating your frustration. You are creating your frustration, right? Because it's about the attitude. You've lost a match, and you can say, hey, that was a great time I had with my friends here watching the match. Who cares whether we lost or won, right? Or
that was always my opinion as a kid. My opinion as a kid was I had fun with my friends. It didn't really matter that much.
Exactly.
That we lost the match.
Or you can be miserable about it, half a day, and you're creating your own frustration. It's your choice how you're going to emotionally react to the reality, basically. So this is absolutely a skill or a habit that you need to pass on to your children. But I think you model it. I think they pick it up. If you model it, they pick it up. If you model the positive attitude towards things, they pick it up. I mean, you know me. I'm an optimist, and I've picked it up from
optimist.
Optimist. Yes. Ophthalmologist.
Oh, God.
And I picked it up from the
Very
person
often.
that's sitting in the next room, right?
That one.
Because that's my mom. Because she was always the person, when we went out for like hiking, right? And
she's an optimist.
Yes, and I
don't think so.
Because you don't know her. And it started raining, and it would be horrible and muddy and wet and cold and awful. She wouldn't say this is awful. She'd just say this is an adventure, right? So she always had a positive view of things, even if they weren't appearing to be positive. She always took something out of them. She always took, well, at least we learned this, or and I find that very helpful in life. So
it's also helpful when people give thumbs up or likes or hearts on the videos online. Just adding that in there. Right.
So
or share the podcast. Even.
We should
cool.
definitely model
something's going on Facebook. Anyway.
The positive attitude to things, because that is exactly that creates your reality. That basically your attitude creates your reality. It creates whether you're going to be frustrated. It creates whether you're going to be aggressive, because the aggressive stems from the frustration and the feeling of helplessness, for example. So.
Well, okay. Here's another perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is possible to be aggressive when you think that you are being positive. I've seen that in people.
Not in toddlers, though.
Well, I've seen it in adults, and who I didn't know when they were young. But I imagine that it was learned when they were young, and reinforced through repetition, and not ever corrected. Not that it needs to be exactly corrected, but I think you get the point. It needs to be dealt with, or it needs to be observed more carefully, or it needs to be guided.
I think you do that sometimes.
What?
Being aggressive and thinking that it's positive.
I don't disagree with that.
When I tell you I don't like this, I don't like this behavior that you're exhibiting, and you would say I'm only doing it for your own good. kind of thing. You would say, but if I didn't
Well, I'm
do
not
it,
doing
I'm
it for
helping
your
you.
good.
I'm trying to
I'm not
help
doing it for
you.
your good. I'm doing it for everybody's good, right? Because if I was saying doing it for your good, that would suggest that it might be bad for me, which would be silly, right? Because obviously it wouldn't be bad for me. So there's obviously a universal good at play.
Yes, but it's the point is you don't. If you do something to other people that the other people do not like and choose not to be a part of, and you're saying that it's because it's good for them, it's basically gaslighting. It's telling them you don't know what's good for you. You don't. Your emotional reactions don't matter. They are not
But if
valid because it's good for you. That's basically gaslighting. That's basically.
I have to examine that more. But if you know more about a topic than someone else knows, then you are quite justified in believing you can make a better decision about that topic.
Yes, but you still have to respect the other person's opinion.
I respect the other person's opinion, but I don't like to see other people
something.
making mistakes. Not that people don't need to make their own mistakes.
Yes, but I'm
They do
talking
need
about aggressive behavior, like you know, we always have a problem with the language. You always use I would call it aggressive language, and I always have a problem with that. You know, I say don't talk to me like that. I don't like it, and then you would say, well, that's for your own good.
Words,
right?
Words, Mr. Wordsworth. Words. They have power, all of them, and the words that people are more afraid to use take on a greater power of their own. This is a common problem in language. And the only way to disempower the words is at times to use them more often. And a classic example of this in society was the way that white people used the word nigger to talk about black people in a bad way. And black people came and they took the word and they started to use it amongst themselves. And over time, the word lost its power. And
did it?
It did. Yeah.
You're still gonna get beat up if you call a black man a
No,
nigger.
it's kind of more humorous now because the blacks can go, yeah, look, we've taken the power back on that. It doesn't affect us anymore.
No,
I know
what you mean. I know what
it's
you
not
mean.
a derogatory term because people have become familiar with it. They've taken the power away from the language. Now, the language that people fear to use is symbolic of other fears that they have. See, I don't fear to use any language or any words because I know that I don't want the words to have power or control over me.
Yes, but it's not about you. In the interaction, it's not about you.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter very much.
It's my choice to choose the words.
It is completely your choice. It is your choice to be aggressive towards somebody. It doesn't show respect at all. To choose something because something is better to tell someone this is better for you, even though you don't like it, even though you don't prefer, even though you don't choose to do it. This is better for you, so I'm going to do this. It's like the top of the disrespect that I can imagine. It's like completely dismissing somebody else's.
In terms of language, I'm going to use all of the words with equality.
Even though you hurt people. Even though
I think people have to get over their own
hurting people.
Softness. I haven't said any of that. You're having a conversation with yourself about hurt, right?
No, but that's the point. My point is that some words can hurt, right? And when I tell you that these words hurt me, right? Don't use them. then
no, I think people have become soft in the modern age. I think you've got all this
but this
social
is a
justice warrior stuff where, oh, he said this to me and she said that to me, and oh, that's name calling and that. I mean,
I'm
people
not
just have
talking
to,
in general. I'm
people
talking
just
in
have
a
to, harden
relationship.
their tortoise shell.
Oh, you can.
Too
This
many
is.
people are too offended
You see, this
far
is a
too easily.
I think this is a very dangerous stand that you're taking, because you can use that
Very
with.
important stand.
You can use that with any type of violence. Do you know how many violent
No, you can't.
people use
you
that
ca-
for physical
you
violence?
You can't jump from non-physical to physical as the same thing.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
No, that's a psychological. That's a psychological step. For example, okay, let me prove this point. Okay, let me prove this point. The right to free speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the right to punch people. It's the right to free speech.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they cannot be the same thing.
Yes, but you can get sued for sued. You have the insult thing, right? You said this person publicly offended me or insulted me.
No. That's not any kind of legal thing, right? It's not illegal to offend somebody. It's not. It's illegal. It's illegal.
Somebody.
It's not.
It's not illegal.
No. It's not illegal to offend. That's called free speech. It's not illegal. Sorry, it's not illegal to offend anybody. It's not. It's illegal to slander somebody, which means to lie, and attempt to defame their character or destroy their business. That is illegal.
Okay,
but it's
social.
not. It's not.
Social.
It's not illegal to have a comment. It's not.
Okay.
It's not anywhere illegal.
Scientific
it should never be.
studies.
But it should never be because that is just society going straight back to the Stone Age, and might as well just give everyone a club to club each other.
Scientific studies show
Done.
that verbal abuse and physical abuse cause the same kind of psychological damage.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I would agree with that, and also at the same time categorizing those two things very differently. Okay, yes, they can have the same effect, but they're different. And it's the same way that you can punch someone in the face or you can hit them with a baseball bat, right?
I know they are different. I know you can't kill someone with words.
No, that's not. No. That's where you're wrong.
I can call you an idiot and that's going to kill you. It's not going to kill you if I call you an idiot.
How many people hang themselves?
Yeah, okay.
How many people commit suicide because of failures in relationships?
Well, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying that the psychological harm caused by verbal violence or physical violence.
It doesn't kill you.
Not
but it does kill some
directly,
people.
okay?
It doesn't matter if it's direct or indirect. The result is exactly the same. It doesn't matter.
You just don't let me talk.
I do.
Yeah.
But if you build an argument based on a false premise,
okay, I'm
then
sorry,
the whole
I forgot
argument
to.
is
I didn't say the word directly. You cannot directly kill someone by saying something to them, but you can.
Wait.
They can. I'm not going to wait because I haven't finished my sentence.
Can
I finish my sentence,
because I have to
please?
fix the internet.
Well, fix the internet, and I'm going to talk
do
while you're doing
technical
it.
stuff and have this conversation at the same time.
So,
it's a bit complicated.
You can inflict psychological harm, which I said before.
Okay.
Which can then result in people developing a depression and killing themselves. Absolutely.
I would say that behavior is directly responsible, even though it takes a longer period of time.
It's not immediate, okay.
Yeah, but it's still directly responsible.
So I don't think that verbal aggression should be dismissed as, oh, that's okay.
Well, I just said that words kill.
Yeah.
I just said the words kill.
Yeah, you did. But you also said before that, I'm going to that words that you should.
Oh, look.
That you should take power away from words by basically using them, right? You're like, well, people have to get over it. People have to get over their softness.
They do.
And I said that's a dangerous stance, because you can say, "Oh, you have to get rid of you have to get over your softness," and then use the verb. How can you get rid of or over your softness if words have the power to kill someone? If you use them violently or aggressively or abusively.
You can use them proactively without using them violently, aggressively, or abusively.
Yeah, I know that. That's what we're doing now. Right?
That's my point.
But my point is that using your words, using words that the other person doesn't want you to use because they find it abusive or they find it aggressive, telling them that it's for their own good, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing like beating your child up and telling them it's for their own good. Psychologically, when it comes to psychological effects and when it comes to the respect, right? It doesn't show any respect.
Okay.
It dismisses the person's emotions and opinions.
There's a line that you crossed there, which is not logical.
And it's a stance of power. You're doing that, you're putting yourself in a position of power where you can decide what's good for other people. And that is not respectful.
I can decide what's good for other people. I have that right. I can decide what's good for my kids. I have that right. I have that role. I have that responsibility.
But you also...
And to do nothing would be wrong.
But you have to
say nothing.
But you have to respect their preferences. You have to respect their autonomy to a certain extent.
And they have to respect my legal responsibility as a parent. I have more experience. I respect their choices.
Then
I give them freedom, but I have more experience of certain things than they do. That's just the way it is.
Where is the line?
Sorry?
Where is the line?
Depends what the topic is. What's your topic?
Who's
Give me a topic, I'll give you a line. You're talking in generalisms. Okay, let's be specific. Give me a topic, I'll give you a line.
Okay, it's cold outside. My child says they're warm and they're not going to wear the jacket. Are you going to force them to wear a jacket because that's what's good for them, or are you going to let them decide for themselves and you're going to respect their opinion? And if they feel warm, you're going to let them run around in shirt sleeves because you trust that they actually feel warm.
You can let me answer that question.
After I finish my question, yes, I am.
Because you asked a question and then answered it.
No, I didn't.
You did.
I asked a question.
You listened to it back again. You asked the question and then you answered it.
No, I just gave you two options to choose from. That's not answering the question.
That's not an open question. Give me an open question and I will give you...
Who said I have to ask open questions?
Ask. Okay, now you can't ask the question. I said, give me a question, I'll give you an answer. Give me a specific question, I will draw you a line. You haven't given me a specific question yet.
I just did.
No, you didn't.
You just chose to ignore it.
Okay, ask it again. If it's very specific, ask it again. You can listen back to this and you can check it. You'll see that I'm right.
If it's cold outside and your child doesn't want to wear a jacket, right?
Can I answer that now?
What are you going to do? Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? Very simple. I am going to carry the jacket with me, and when we go outside and the child starts to go, I'm going to say, perhaps you should put the jacket on because, when you get cold, you get sick and you get ill and it's not a good thing. Look at what Dad's wearing. Dad's wearing a jacket because Dad doesn't want to get cold. Look at the other kids, they're wearing jackets as well. So I'm going to try to persuade them based on the environmental situations that their choice for themselves is not good. And if they say, no, Dad, I still don't want to wear a jacket, I'll say, okay, let's wait 5 or 10 minutes. Let's give it some time and let's see how you feel then.
Good.
There's your line.
That's great. That's how you do respect.
That's progressive parenting.
You value the other person's feelings and opinions. You don't dismiss them. You don't say, you're cold, you just don't know about it, right? You don't say, put that jacket on because that's what's good for you, right? But that's what you're doing if you're being verbally aggressive and the other person says, excuse me, I do not want you to talk to me this way. I have a problem with that. Can you please not talk to me this way? And you say, but that's what's better for you. That's dismissing their everything. So that's gaslighting. Telling someone this is better for you, you don't know what's good for you. That's gaslighting.
It depends on the specific situation. It's a big general term. That's like saying, in some of the trees are green. Yeah, all the ones that are.
No, I think it applies in every
green,
situation. I think it applies in every situation. Telling someone they don't know what's good for them is gaslighting in any situation.
It's very general, though. I mean,
but it applies generally.
Anybody can say anything in general, and it sounds okay. When you get down to the specifics, it's very different.
You give me a specific situation.
I don't have any.
It's not gaslighting.
I don't have a.
It's gaslighting in every situation you think of.
It's not me that has a problem with it. So why should I give you an example of something that I don't have a problem with? Because there are no examples if I don't have a problem.
Well, I think you should think about it because it's what you do.
You haven't given any examples.
I just to give you an example, like when you tell me something aggressive and I tell you that I don't like you to talk to me that way, and then you say you don't know it's good for you. You say it's good for you. I'm doing it for your own good.
A lot of people are soft.
So what? It doesn't matter if they choose to be soft. It doesn't matter. You're supposed to respect their choices and respect their emotional stance to something.
I have a lot of respect.
No, you don't.
You still haven't given any specific example.
I just did.
You didn't. It's not specific. It's general.
But do I have to give you the exact word that you use?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's general. Like you have to treat it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make a cognitive, positive, direct argument that has effect, you have to imagine that you're in a court of law. This is how it works. Nothing that you've said will have any weight in a court of law. The judge, the lawyers would look at you and laugh, right? And I'm not just saying that. That's exactly what would happen. So you have to...
Yes, because we're talking about verbal expression, and you just told me that it has no legal stance. So...
No, you missed the point. You missed the point that anybody can talk in specifics. Anybody can talk in generalisms and think they're specifics, because most people do. Unless your point is specific, then there is no point. I mean, you can make general statements, right? But anybody can come along and take any general statement. You can even do it with so-called scientific facts. You can come along and find one exception to it and destroy the whole premise of the theory. But that's why it's necessary to have very specific situations, because when people talk in generalisms, that's when problems occur.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example.
Look, it's getting dark on the...
I'm going to give you an exact example of an exact word, okay?
No, it has to be an exact conversation, not an exact word.
I cannot recreate an exact conversation that happened.
Then it's out of context.
I'm not a freaking recorder.
It's out of context. Well, that's why I record all of my work. The reason why I record audios of all of my work is because people, A, make mistakes, B, take things out of context, and C, then use that to build false arguments. And this happens every single day of my life. And that's why I record all of my work. Everything is, the audio of all the situations and all the conversations are specifically recorded. And it's funny, because since I started recording it, there have been far less problems or issues with any of my clients, because everyone knows everything is recorded, and the moment they have an issue or a problem, I can just take the audio, send it to them, and say, "Dude, it done. There you go."
No, that's great, but you can't do that with a relationship and with a just day-to-day conversation at a kitchen table. That would just be sick, wouldn't it?
But you have to act as if that is what is happening, because that's the only way to go forward. That's the only way for society to progress. If you're building things based on... Otherwise, we'd be back in superstition. We'd be living in the age of superstition. if we didn't use these tools, right? Look at the way that look at the way the video cameras reduced the amount of crime. Look at the way that all the stupid shit and miracles and UFOs kind of all just kind of disappeared as soon as everybody had a mobile phone in their pocket with with a camera in it, right? There's much more.
Did they disappear?
Yeah, they did. There's much less people telling stories about certain things that happened, because people used to tell stories all the time. I mean, it was a huge problem in society. People were just made up stuff, and nobody had any way of checking whether it was real or true or not. And that's a massive problem from history. And the scientific method and the introduction of recording audio and recording video completely changed that and helped society take steps forward. It's not perfect, but we use these things to our advantage, and we have to use them to our advantage. It's necessary for the survival of humanity that we use these things to our advantage, because there's a huge difference between what you think and what is. And the only way to check that, the only way to control that, the only way to understand that, the only way to grow is to have a recording of what has happened. And the
So
great
you want me that
scientists
next time you're doing this, you want me to record it?
What do you think this is? What do you think making a podcast is? What do you think putting out a live Facebook show is? It's a way of recording reality.
It's a way to communicate advice
Yes.
that might help people out there about parenting.
And that's fantastic. That's the way that it should be. It's also a way of detailing and recording reality that has never been available to humanity before, and allows us to take those little steps forward that we haven't been able to do for the last 10,000 years. I mean, the alternative is to go back to living in caves again. And
That's a bit extreme.
the same way that some people do that. Some people do that. They choose not to live in the modern society. They go to Indonesia and they live in trees. They go on the internet, you can check it out, right?
Would you like to go for a holiday?
My parents have already been there.
In the trees?
Yeah.
Your
I'm not
parents have been
joking.
everywhere. Your parents have been like everywhere.
Yeah, and they...
Oh, I've been there. I've chased a lion around the Sahara in a jeep.
I cried when I saw the giraffes.
Oh, wait a minute. Lions don't live in Sahara. Oops. Savannah.
You see? You see, this... What this is... This is an opportunity to... Having everything recorded is an opportunity to look back and to find errors, to visualize progress. I mean, this is the equivalent to, like the camera for photography, right? Now you can take pictures of your kids and all the great things and events, and we've we go on Facebook and we look back through the pictures that are there, and they remind us of things that we forgot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a time when none of that existed, right?
I know. I lived in that time.
Yeah, exactly. And all those memories are gone, and they'll never come back. And
They're not gone. They're in your brain.
No, they're forgotten. You're never gonna think about them because you can't remember them, because that's the way the human brain works. You better go.
Okay.
You better go and deal with the kids, because I think that's... Is that Jazzy?
Yes.
Jazzy is awake, and she's not going to be satisfied by her mother, who has closed the door and shut her in the room, when what she wants is to spend time with her mother. And grandmother thinks she's doing the right things, but she's not. So there you go. We very often make mistakes. We try to do the right thing, or we just don't think. We just don't think. The adults tend to think they know what's best for kids, but they don't spend the time that they need to take listening to the kids. Because kids kind of know what they want, and there's a general instinct of honesty and truth that exists there, and all that Jazzy wanted was to find her mother and cuddle her, and the grandmother decided to close the door and keep her in the room. So it's another example of how misunderstandings occur between the generations. If you'd like more information about what we do and the topics that we discuss, then you can find them at www.nsa-slovakia.com. You can find the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching on YouTube and on Facebook as well. If you follow me, then you can get live notifications of what's happening each day. And if you follow my Facebook page, you get extra videos, extra tricks, tips, pointers that will keep things moving forward for you in your parenting life. And it's a constant process of growth, it's a constant process of development, it's a constant process of sharing. It's important to know that there's no one person who has all the right answers, and it's only through sharing ideas the way that people do on the internet, that they do through Facebook, and they share their thoughts through Twitter, and they share their like maybe recipes through Pinterest. It's putting this information out into the world that allows people to think about what is the right way to go for them. It's the ideas that allow people to sharpen their brain, and I think the brain is the greatest tool that we have, because we either use words or we use swords, and so it's always better to use words and to find peaceful solutions to problems, to negotiate, and to explore, to listen, and to learn. To hello over there, with a big smile, on your face. Yeah. Well, why don't you come over here with the remote? Why are you standing over there? Why are you standing in the middle of the room waving the remote at the monitor rather than coming over here having a conversation?
It starts going really loud, and I'm over there, and I can't point it.
I can do it. You can give it to me. I can reach from here.
Okay.
What did you put on?
Super wide. It seems to be loading up. I'm not sure it's going to work all right, because I've just,
What?
it's been like that for ages.
Is it not loading up?
I don't know. It says loading. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, you wonderfully
Women in technology.
you wonderfully deflected the conversation. Look
What?
what it says. Press the return button.
You put on a file that doesn't work.
No, I did not. That file usually...
Look who's aggressive
Bloody
now.
hell. Because you're standing there not doing anything.
I'm not. What, me? I can't do anything because you've got the remote. What do you want me to do?
You were standing there waving and talking to me instead of going, hi, it's me.
Do. Okay, so Super Y is on. Jazzy's going to get her reading adventure. And she's going to fall asleep again because she's playing with her hair. Because she always...
She's not going to fall asleep again.
Huh?
No. She's still sleepy, but she's not going to fall asleep again. Anyway, so back to the topic. Right.
Sure, we can do another 5 minutes on the topic. Because we've done 90 already, so...
So we have...
I will very happily discuss the topic for 5 minutes, and then...
No, I just wanted to go over it
project.
very quickly, and again, just to repeat the steps, like what to do when your child is aggressive. Calm down, calm the child down, remove them from the situation. Tell them, kid, hands are for cuddling, hands are for nice interaction, hands are not for hitting, but don't tell them they're not for hitting because
hands for
they
stroking.
don't. Yes, hands are
them.
for stroking. Yes, exactly. I wouldn't use the negatives. I would use the positive so that the child understands it. Think about what's behind the behavior.
Yeah.
Address the need that's behind the behavior. Do not address the behavior immediately in the situation, but the need that's behind the behavior. Give them a break, give them some food, or address consistently and proactively the any type of anxiety that could be hiding behind the behavior. And last point that I didn't manage to make.
You could do all that with adults as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last point that I didn't manage to make was give them the tools to handle their own emotions. Teach them about the emotions. Tell them you're. If they're not really, if the emotion behind the anger, if the triggering emotion is something else like fear, tell them you're worried that this is going to happen, or tell them you're being a bit overwhelmed, so that they know what they're feeling, except for the anger, or besides the anger.
Okay, and think about the toolbox, right? Think about the fact that like if you're a workman, that you're carrying around this toolbox with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of different things that you might or might not need, but you try to carry everything around with you.
Mm-hmm.
You okay? Yeah. I thought you were pointing at something there.
It's like talk to them.
Them. Okay. So yeah, the toolbox is key. You've got a toy box for all the different toys. So what you need is the parenting toolbox, which is the box that you can open when there's a problem, and you can go there in your mind, and you can look through the different techniques that you understand, and you can try to employ them when you have the problem that you need to fix. I don't think there's any quick fix to any problem in life,
consistently addressing the behavior in the same calm, gentle, kind manner, because remember, the kid is not the bad guy. Do not punish the child, because it's not going to help the situation. It's not going to relieve the kid's stress. It's going to add on to it, and it's going to make the behavior worse. So do not punish the kid. Tell them the behavior is not okay. Tell them this is the right thing to do, but do not punish them, because they can't help it. If they're being aggressive, they're doing it because it's the last resort. It's the only way they know how to communicate whatever trait they were trying to communicate before, because they probably were trying to communicate it before, but we didn't pick up on it, either because they're not verbal, or maybe we were too busy, or don't punish them for expressing their emotions, because it's a natural thing to do. It's like punishing someone for being hungry. So, and the last thing is, practice the appropriate expression of the emotions in a calm environment, right? And when you don't have a problem, but you're having a nice time with your kid, you're playing together or something, he's quite happy, you can always practice through play the appropriate reaction. When you're, for example, I used to tell my kids, when you're angry, say I'm angry, if they're verbal. If they're not verbal yet, you can teach them to stomp their feet, or to, I don't know, hit the cushion, whatever is... Stamp their feet, sorry. Whatever is okay with you, okay? If it's okay with you that the kids stamp their feet, tell them if you're angry, stamp their feet, and model it, through play. Take little stuffed animals and go, oh, I'm a bunny, I'm so angry, I'm going to stamp my feet, right? And you stamp the feet, or you do it together. You go like funny, laughingly say, oh, you just ran away from me, I'm so angry, I'm going to stamp my feet, and you stamp your feet so that the child sees that when you're angry, you do that, right? And of course, you model the expression of the emotions verbally, so they know what to call the emotion, what to say to the other person when they want to communicate the emotion, because that empowers them and that helps them deal with it, right? Once you name the enemy, you're less afraid of it, right? Yeah. You've got certain power over it, so it empowers just the fact that they know what they're feeling empowers them to deal with the emotion in a different manner.
Well, I see it like a musical instrument. If you imagine a guitar, you're always tuning it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Life is always the songs that you play are always, stretching the strings and, slowly putting it out of tune. And you always need to, fine tune the strings. You always need to constantly work on it to keep it in tune, to have harmony in your life. And so parenting is, fine tuning the essential skills that you need to be happy, I suppose.
Yeah, it's giving them the skills.
4 years.
Yeah.
It's
giving them the skills, definitely,
Yeah.
and giving them tools to be able to deal with situations in life appropriately and in a manner that doesn't harm themselves or anybody else.
Well said. This was the Practical Parenting Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back with more of the same and maybe something a little bit different in the near future. Catch up with us online, like, share, subscribe, do all the cool things. And the sun is shining, so we're off to do sunny things, I suppose. Right. Any final thoughts?
Have a nice day. Enjoy.
Nice day.
Enjoy the
Have a nice
autumn.
day, wherever you are. Have a nice day.
You're laughing at my accent. You're
Yes.
making fun of me.
Yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Lovely.
Bye-bye, people on the
Lovely.
internet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Speak to you soon. Take
Thanks
care.
for watching.
And listening.